The Trash Bag Man. The Trash Bag Man lurks in the darkest corners of your home. Tall, silent, and covered by what appears to be a garbage bag, its only goal is to gain the trust of children to later take its revenge. It moves in an unnatural way, sliding through the shadows until it envelops and absorbs you into the darkness forever. Shattered. Speaking of the shadows, what about Shattered? This creature is a tormented ghost with twisted arms and a face frozen in pain. It haunts abandoned electrical stations, hostile to those who record it. But the most terrifying thing is what it does after seeing you. It follows you home and waits for you to go inside to attack. The Country Road Creature. Imagine you are driving alone on a deserted road and you come across the Country Road Creature. It can be up to 6 meters tall, with abnormally long arms and multiple joints that allow it to bend in impossible ways. But its true ability is to change its shape to attract new victims. If you get lost on a lonely road and you see someone asking for help, it could be the last thing you see. If you are enjoying this tour through the horrors of the Trevor Henderson universe, do not let these monsters be the last thing you see. Subscribe so you do not miss the most chilling truths and secrets hidden in the darkness. Breaking news. This is a monster that you cannot see, only feel. Breaking news is a giant shadow made of a material that absorbs light. It has no face, but it produces a shriek so deafening that it resembles a broken loudspeaker. It is the embodiment of destruction, and when it moves forward, cities are left desolate. If you see a shadow that is too deep, it is possible that the world you know is about to end. The Upside Down Man. Not all monsters are predators. The Upside Down Man is a being that feeds on human misery. At first glance, he is just another person in a crowd, but if you look closely, his face is inverted. He appears at the scene of the worst human tragedies, and his presence is a warning that something terrible is about to happen. The Sea Eater. Most monsters are on land, but what about what is hiding in the depths? The Sea Eater is a colossal creature capable of devouring ships, submarines, and even entire islands. Its body is so big that most sightings are only of one of its parts. This is the monster that lives in the darkest parts of the ocean and moves at speeds that defy all logic. The Basement Baby. The Basement Baby is not a baby. It is a skinless humanoid that crawls on all fours, with empty holes in its face instead of eyes and a mouth. If you have a basement, you might have a problem. It is said to appear in these rooms, waiting for a month before disappearing without a trace. The legend says it is a child that was locked in a basement until it became something monstrous. The Bridgeworm. The Bridgeworm is one of the most intelligent monsters. It hides under bridges on highways and uses a fake face with a calm expression to lure its prey. But its true face is a horror with 36 teeth and deformed eyes. It hunts at night and at the perfect moment reveals its true appearance before it attacks. The Smile Room. This creature is a nightmare from urban legends. The Smile Room appears as an abandoned door that is, in reality, a death trap. Upon crossing it, you find yourself trapped in the gigantic mouth of a being that drags you inside. In the phone records of 2 missing teenagers, the only evidence that remained was a photo of a mouth with the caption, "The Smile Room, the Giant Puppeteer." This is not a creature that haunts your nightmares. It is a master puppeteer of colossal proportions. Its power is not based on terror, but on absolute control. Instead of running, you are forced into a choreography in which you are the main character. The giant puppeteer turns entire cities into an impromptu theater, manipulating people with its immense hands. A simple blink, and you no longer have control over your own body. This being does more than just cause fear. It strips you of your will. Its figure is that of a humanoid shadow, with arms that stretch out and long fingers that hang like curtain cords. But what is truly unsettling are its hands, thin, skeletal, and always ready to catch their next puppet. Some say it is faceless, while others say it wears a theater mask whose expression shifts between joy and despair. The true horror is not in physical violence, but in the loss of autonomy. You realize that your body does not belong to you. You are not a victim fleeing, you are an actor in its show. You will march towards your own end, smiling, clapping, doing pirouettes without being able to help it. The nightmare is not death, but the transformation into a puppet. Once its strings reach you, there is no escape. You are just another act in its play. The wildfire giants. There are giants that don't walk. They leave a trail of destruction. This is not a metaphor. They appear wrapped in flames, as if they had emerged from the worst corner of hell. No one knows their origin, their purpose, or even if they think. They only manifest when the sky turns red and the wind whispers blood-curdling secrets. They are so tall they dwarf skyscrapers. They are humanoid torches making their way through valleys, indifferent to everything around them. And in their wake, everything turns to ash. Towns, forests, even memories are reduced to smoking postcards. One blink, and your neighborhood is nothing but a pile of embers. They don't roar, nor do their steps thunder. They just drift with an eerie silence like a fire dance over a dying world. It is the stillness that precedes a catastrophe with no return. Some believe they are not alive, but the manifestation of the earth's wrath. Others call them gods of destruction, waking up from a millennial sleep. But really, what does it matter? If one gets close to your house will cease to exist. That is the only rule. They don't chase you, they just ignore you. You don't realize how insignificant you are until something of such magnitude erases you from existence without even noticing. That is true terror. The next time you see smoke on the horizon, don't stay to find out what it is. Just run. Because if it's not a fire, it could be something much worse. The mushroom crab. This is no fantasy video game monster. It's a glitch of nature that refused to die. Imagine a crustacean the size of a warehouse with a shell covered in fungi that look ready to release poisonous spores. It has claws, legs, and an attitude that screams, "I was here before you and I'll still be here after you cease to exist." And no, these aren't just common mushrooms. It's a sentient fungus that feeds on the being it's growing on. This means the creature is a walking biological debt. The crab part is just the armor and legs. The rest is a gigantic infection that decided to go mobile. Its size isn't that of a kaiju, but it could turn a lighthouse into crab salad. It's not in a hurry, but each of its steps sounds like a forest collapsing. Imagine hearing the crunch of wood and gravel, only to realize it's not an earthquake. It's your new fungal overlord working out. It's not hunting, it's migrating, which is worse, because now you're in its path. And believe me, nobody wants to be roadkill on a mushroom highway. The Wandering Faith. The Wandering Faith does not bring chaos. Its arrival is a ritual, and dread follows closely behind. It is a colossal humanoid figure, wrapped in tattered and worn robes, tirelessly dragging itself across the land while reciting prayers that echo for miles. No one understands what it says, but those who hear it cannot help but follow. Thousands of people in a silent trance, walking towards it like moths to a holy fire. It is an unsettling image. Watching someone leave their home, their family, their entire identity, to march barefoot through mountains towards a god who may not see them, or worse, who may see them too well. The creature's face is always hidden. Some believe it has no face. Others say it wears a cracked porcelain mask that weeps blood. In its wake, the land shifts, crops die, rivers turn black, and the air feels heavy, as if you are breathing through someone else's lungs. Is it a god? A relic? A punishment? Perhaps it is all of them at once. It doesn't take your life, it takes your soul's purpose. It has no claws or teeth, just an overwhelming sense that kneeling is the right thing to do, that surrendering is peace, that worship is the only emotion left. No one knows what happens when the followers reach it. Perhaps they turn to ash, or maybe they merge with its torn robe. But one thing is certain, you never come back after worshipping the Wandering Faith. The moon worshippers. At first glance, they don't look threatening. Hooded silhouettes, motionless like pilgrims under the night sky, their heads tilted up, as if waiting for a god that has forgotten them. But the longer you stare, the more unsettling it becomes. You realize they don't blink, they don't sway, and they are not human. Trevor Henderson's moon worshippers are some of the most silent yet psychologically terrifying entities in his work. They appear in clusters, always facing the moon, often on hillsides, rooftops, or abandoned highways. Locations that feel both intimate and infinite. But their presence is not limited to a place, it's an event. They always appear during a full moon. And when they do, animals go quiet. Electronics glitch. and nearby people feel nausea, confusion, or overwhelming sadness. It's as if the air bends around them, as if grief has its own gravitational pull. They never speak, never move, but they somehow make you feel like you're intruding on a sacred ritual, one that was never meant for human eyes. And this is where it gets truly strange. They aren't just looking at the moon, they're communicating with it. Some witnesses claim the moon glows brighter when they arrive. Others say they've seen the figures levitate slightly before vanishing into thin air. But the most chilling theory is that they are not worshipping the moon. They are summoning something that hides behind it. The Behemoth. This being doesn't move across landscapes, it moves through the very bones of the earth. People often imagine the apocalypse as an event of fire, floods, or a catastrophe that tears the sky open. But what if the end is already here, and it's just sleeping? Somewhere beneath the mountains, under layers of rock and forgotten tectonic plates, something massive stirs. They call it the Behemoth, not because it's big, but because no one can describe it without running out of words. From the little we've seen, barely the top of its head, it's a reptilian nightmare the size of a continent. A conservative estimate places it at 800 kilometers tall. Though who would be measuring when the measuring tape would melt from pure fear? It doesn't move often, but when it does, entire coastlines vanish from the maps. Its face is simple, grayish skin, eyes as black as abysses, and a jaw so wide it could have swallowed an entire mountain without even chewing it. And here's the worst part. The Behemoth might just be one of its kind. The thought of there being more than one is enough to make you want to leave the planet. It doesn't roar, it doesn't attack, it doesn't do anything in particular. But you know that stillness that precedes the worst storm? That's what the Behemoth is. It's the punchline to a cosmic joke we didn't even know we were a part of. If you've made it to the end, it's because something within you resonates with these narratives. Don't just watch them, be a part of them. There's so much more to explore, and only those who are subscribed will get the notification when the next story is revealed. Make sure you don't miss a thing. Subscribe now to be the first to join the next journey. For years, the artist Trevor Henderson has filled our feeds with monsters and creatures that seem to be straight out of a nightmare. But what if they were not just a product of his imagination? What would happen if these beings existed in the darkness of our world? Today, we are not going to talk about myths. We are going to open a file of real encounters, of inexplicable sightings. What you're about to see could be lurking in a forest near you, and perhaps you have already heard its call. Siren Head. The first entry in our file was recorded in 1966 in the Arizona desert. A vacationing family took a photograph that, at first glance, looked like a telephone pole. But upon zooming in on the image, they realized what they had really captured. A skeletal creature 12 meters tall, with two enormous sirens in place of a head. This being, known as Siren Head, is not a simple monster. It is a calculating predator, one that camouflages itself perfectly among the trees. Its weapon is not strength but deception. It has been documented that it is capable of emitting radio transmissions, and most terrifying of all, can replicate the voices of people asking for help, or the voices of your loved ones. It has been seen lurking in rural towns and forests, luring its victims before they can even notice its presence. If Siren Head is a predator in the forest, the next creature in our file is one that disguises itself with innocence to torment our minds. We go into abandoned places where nostalgia rots and turns into a nightmare. This is Cartoon Cat. This being seems to be straight out of old black and white cartoons, with a malleable and slender body, but its smile is grotesque and its presence fetid and corrupt. The most terrifying thing of all is that its size is inconsistent. You can see it just a few feet taller than you, or it can stretch to be taller than a two-story building. One moment it is a harmless character, the next it is a shadow that devours you. But the fear of this creature goes beyond its physical form. It is considered the most powerful of all the monsters in the files, an entity so malevolent that even other horrible beings avoid its lair. It has been seen primarily in an abandoned shopping mall, a place where there once was laughter, but now all that remains is a silence that is interrupted by the sound of something that should not exist. Until now, we have seen predators and beings that betray our trust. But what happens if a creature is terrifying, not because it wants to harm you, but because it wants to save you? The next entry in our file breaks all the molds of horror. It is a protector, but a very strange one. Its name is Long Horse. Imagine the skull of a horse attached to an immense, endless amount of vertebrae that can shape and teleport at will. Its nature is enigmatic, but its purpose is clear. It is a guardian of humanity. Its mission is to warn us of impending disasters, and it does so in the most unsettling way possible. If you hear a crack in your neck, or if you suddenly see its unusual form on the horizon, do not fear the creature. Fear what is to come. It is said that Long Horse is friendly, but it is a being of immense power. It is known to be able to enter people's dreams, and although its goal is to protect, it is warned that if someone dares to stare at its body for too long, they could turn into dust. Long Horse is not a creature of evil, but a creature from an incomprehensible universe that smells like cinnamon and watches over us from the cracks in reality. If we have already entered the universe of nightmares with the cartoon cat, the next entry in our file forces us to ask an even more unsettling question. What if the terror is not a single being, but multiple faces of the same evil? The cartoon dog is proof of this. Just like its feline counterpart, this being is a tall humanoid figure with an elongated, slender body that looks like it came from a 1930s cartoon. Its long arms hang almost to the ground. It has white gloves and large eyes that watch you. But if you get closer, the facade crumbles. It reveals a mouth full of enormous teeth and a smile that could only belong to a predator. There is a theory, terrifying in its simplicity, that suggests that the cartoon dog is not a separate being. It is, in fact, a different manifestation of the same cosmic parasite that gives life to the cartoon cat. This means that the nightmare you thought was unique is actually a being that can change its shape, stalking and hunting with different appearances. And if you encounter it, your fate is most likely already sealed. If terror can take the form of a camouflaged predator or a childhood nightmare, what shape does it take when it is pure biology and chaos? The next entry in our file is one of the most unsettling because of its very existence. We call it the Lamb, but its appearance is anything but innocent. It is a nightmarish creature that seems to be made of a tangle of fleshy ropes, like veins entangled on themselves, with 4 appendages that hang like noodles. The strangest thing is that it never touches the ground. It is always seen floating in the air, as if gravity were not an obstacle. A huge hole opens in what appears to be its head, and no one is sure if it is a mouth that can devour you, or an eye that watches you unblinking from a distance. An encounter with the Lamb is not an encounter with a hunter, but with an abomination that defies everything we know about life. If terror can take the form of something that floats senselessly in the dark, it can also manifest as a nightmare that walks on 4 legs, a predator that approaches our cities. The next entry in our file shows us a threat that is much more visceral. Known as anxious dogs, they are grotesque and silent creatures. They have translucent, hairless skin that reveals their tendons and muscle structures. Their thinness is so extreme that you can see the shape of their spine. But do not be fooled by their fragile appearance. These beings are intelligent predators, fast and stealthy despite their large size. These are not monsters that hide deep in the forests. The anxious dogs are attracted to urban areas, where they hunt and stalk pets and small animals, patrolling a territory they consider their own. Their extremely territorial and aggressive nature has caused mortal conflicts and the disappearance of people, bringing the terror of the supernatural directly to our doorstep. We have seen predators that camouflage their nature, guardians that protect us from the future, and abominations that defy physics. But there is one final file, one that confronts us with the most terrifying idea of all, the possibility that monsters are created by ourselves. The last entry in our file is known simply as the Man with the Red Guts. The only evidence we have of its existence is a photograph, a grotesquely twisted humanoid figure made of fleshy strands hanging upside down from the ceiling of an abandoned warehouse. Its shape seems to be made of intertwined veins, almost like the mycelium of a fungus, with long legs and arms hanging lifelessly, and the room is bathed in an unnatural red light. It is speculated that this creature was not born of nature, but from a failed ritual. that a group of people tried to summon or resurrect something using dark magic, and that the result was this being, an uncontrollable monster so dangerous that the only option was to abandon it in that place. Perhaps the creature is not a demon, but a person who was brought back from the dead, disfigured by a force they could not control. A warning of what happens when humans play with what they do not understand. The Misty Storm Wanderers. The Misty Storm Wanderers are fog-shrouded giants whose only hobby is hunting, clawing, and terrifying valuable humans. They look like lanky, creepy horror guest stars who stuck around after a thunderstorm. Their body is unsettling. Dark white skin, extremely long, thin legs, and plantigrade feet with sharp claws capable of shredding roofs. They are essentially twisted, insect-like legs wrapped in fog. They have no visible eyes, only spikes, sharp mouthparts, and asymmetrical joints. They team up. They appear only when storms are active, using their claws for grabbing and their legs to stride or bounce across buildings. If you see dark clouds gathering and hear the metallic sound of claws, do yourself a favor. Do not be a target today. The Misty Giant. Imagine the Wandering Doom's strange brother, the Misty Giant. It is a skeletal behemoth that is quadrupedal. Its legs are bony, thin, and bend forward and back like a horse's. Ribs are visible, pressing against skin so thin it looks like a walking skeleton. Though it appears frail, it is 20 meters tall and can flatten cars and shred buildings. The terrifying part is that it has the ability to mind control people. Despite being eyeless, it possesses a strange charisma. Mobs of people follow it against their own will to do the tasks the giant desires. If the skeleton doesn't get you, the mindless crowd of unworthy followers will. If you see the mist creeping in and this thin horror advancing, stay inside your car and locked in. The Wildfire Giants. There are giants that don't walk. They leave a trail of destruction. This is not a metaphor. They appear wrapped in flames, as if they had emerged from the worst corner of hell. No one knows their origin, their purpose, or even if they think. They only manifest when the sky turns red and the wind whispers blood-curdling secrets. They are so tall they dwarf skyscrapers. They are humanoid torches making their way through valleys, indifferent to everything around them, and in their wake everything turns to ash. Towns, forests, even memories are reduced to smoking postcards. One blink, and your neighborhood is nothing but a pile of embers. They don't roar nor do their steps thunder. They just drift with an eerie silence, like a fire dance over a dying world. It is the stillness that precedes a catastrophe with no return. Some believe they are not alive, but the manifestation of the earth's wrath. Others call them gods of destruction, waking up from a millennial sleep. But really, what does it matter? If one gets close to your house will cease to exist. That is the only rule. They don't chase you. They just ignore you. You don't realize how insignificant you are until something of such magnitude erases you from existence without even noticing. That is true terror. The next time you see smoke on the horizon, don't stay to find out what it is. Just run, because if it's not a fire, it could be something much worse. The 20th Century Boy. The 20th Century Boy, or Sky Screamer, is a massive, gooey black blob. Its body looks like a failed kraken with constantly writhing tentacles. It has no neck or torso, just a face with a perpetually surprised or mocking expression. It appears in the night sky, and its mission is believed to be to destroy unworthy humans. It is a full-on cosmic horror creation. If you see it, duck first and scream second. Warning: what you are about to see is not safe for your sanity. We've reached the midpoint of our cosmic horror journey. Before we proceed to the final creature, we must warn you, the knowledge of these giants comes at a price. Your payment is simple and mandatory. You must subscribe to this channel. If the terror has held you this far, then join our community. Hit that subscribe button right now, or the next shadow you see might be your final encounter. Proceed if you dare. The Avon Giant. The Avon Giant is a bird humanoid beast, built like an oversized tadpole with its rib cage in the wrong place and more wrinkles than an old discarded couch. Its skin is pale white and its limbs are long and gangly. The neck stretches up to a head that ends in a bird-shaped beak, larger on top than bottom. The most disturbing feature is that it seems blind. with no eyes visible anywhere. It compensates with weird pincher-like organs sprouting mid-torso, which might be extra heads or mutant limbs filled with tendrils. It is a chaotic biological salad. Its behavior is chaotic. It wanders near cities, shakes the ground, makes birds scream in terror, and leaves. It appears to regrow body parts as fast as a murder gecko. If you hear a thunderous flap and screaming birds, the best option is to just stay in bed. Tree Head. Tree Head is like the world's biggest scarecrow that got tired of being stuck on a pole. It is a gargantuan humanoid about 1,000 feet tall. Its hairstyle is a forest of human heads. From afar, especially at sunrise, it looks like a shifting silhouette against the sky, with pinprick white eyes glinting from the tangled mess of heads. Up close, the torso is strangely ribbed, with skin so thin you can almost see its bones, and thick arms ending in skeletal hands. The real showstopper is its many heads with long hair that may be thick tendrils, draping like gloomy treetops. Each head has glowing eyes peering in every direction, as if constantly reading your secrets. Its sheer scale links it to other giants, making it one of the largest terrors ever witnessed.